welcome to the seventh Friends of Figma Singapore in our first panel discussion and first event of 2021. So before we begin, I'd like to briefly introduce the team, the Real Talk series, which is our session today, and also our panelists. I am Zoe, your moderator for the session today, and we also have Pam and Tian here with us.
Hello.
Who will be greeting you in the chat, as well as the networking file that Tian will be spamming in the chat as everyone is still coming in. So as you can see, the format of this discussion will be that there will be no slide deck except for this one, or presentation or even videos, just us chatting about things. We'll divide the session into themes. I think today we have 2 themes. And for each theme, after some questions that we ask our panelists and each other, we'll do sort of like a clubhouse style invitation for 1 or 2 members of our community up if you want to add this to the discussion or want to ask our panelists question. This means that you can use the raise hand feature, and we'll call you up and you can then unmute yourself and ask your question directly. So you don't have to show your face because everyone is not showing their faces except through pictures today, photos today. But we would definitely want to hear from you. Make sure that you'll follow the Figma code of conduct when you do so. Okay, next, a little bit about Real Talk. So our team ran some workshops with junior, mid-level, as well as senior designers and head of departments last year and early this year to gauge the health of designers in the community and their current struggles, as well as what we can do as a community. So the findings actually pointed to a mismatch in expectations when entering the design field. For example, most design literature points to this notion of the perfect design processes and of the perfect design organization or the perfect portfolio. And this could potentially set up the wrong expectation for people new and even, who are already working in the industry when things aren't as orderly or as perfect as we expect them to be. So we want to be able to have a series of discussions on what it's like to be a product designer, hoping that we'll be able to be more open and honest and hopefully real about it, since most of us are in actuality just navigating this like uncertainty and a lot of messes every single day. So event number 7 is the first of this series, and we are keeping the first theme open, basically just working as a product designer, and also a little bit about hiring, interviewing, portfolio, and that kind of stuff. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists today. We have Menaka, who is a product design lead at PropertyGuru. Kim.
Hey guys.
Hi. You scared me a little bit. Kim, who is a product designer at Dell Experience Innovation. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
We have Grace, who is a senior UX engineer.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, Grace.
Hello.
And Jerling, who is currently a junior product designer at Caro.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So I'm going to close the slide now so we can get into the discussion. Okay, cool. So let's start with getting to know everyone a little bit better and talk about our first theme, which is working as a product designer. What's your current role? What are you doing at the moment? And what does your day-to-day look like? Why don't we start with Jerling, and then we can go to Kim, and then Menaka and Grace. Jerling?
Yep, cool. So I'm currently working at Caro, and Caro is a tech-enabled automotive marketplace that is accelerating the process of buying and selling pre-loved cars online, easily and fast-free. So if you're actually looking to buy or sell secondhand cars, you can look us up online. Yeah, so my day-to-day is different because I work in a startup. So that means I wear multi-hats, and it varies because I do a lot of user research to usability testing to making like pixel-perfect UIs. So I touch on a lot of different products ranging from B2C and B2B. So this includes like a car insurance platform, dealership products, inspection applications, enterprise products, and more. Yeah.
So are you the only designer in your team right now, or do you have like multiple designers
Yeah,
supporting you?
so there was one time at a point I was the only designer, but then we have like two more additional senior designers right now. So it's a team of three. And because we're a regional company, so one designer is situated in Malaysia, and then the other senior designer is situated in Singapore.
Cool. Awesome. Kim, do you want to go next?
Yep, sure. So hi, my name is Kim and I am product designer at Dell Experience Innovation Group. So over there, we explore designs with emerging technology and we'll design for maybe 2 to 10 years. So quite a big range. And mostly our focus is more on like proof of concepts and like exploring just like how we could design like with voice, for example, or like a new products. Yeah, so that's my day to day. My day to day mainly is like a bit of meetings and different projects, and I can't really share the projects, but then mainly just executing it to a certain level of fidelity that is proof of concept worthy, and then we would normally pass it on to another team once it gets approved. Yeah, and then previously I was just working at agencies like RGA and BBDO. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Menaka, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me, first of all. And okay, a little bit about where I work. So I work at PropertyGuru, which is a large prop tech company in Southeast Asia. We're in 5 markets, and we've been established since 2007. So it's kind of a startup that's scaling up. And day to day, so that's a complicated question for me because right now I am kind of transitioning internal roles and going to start leading the consumer team on the product side. Yeah, that's kind of in short what I'm doing right now. And in the past, I've worked at Huge, which is an interaction design company, and also at couple of consultancies, agencies. Yeah, I used to be a graphic designer at some point in my career. So I think I have a varied set of experience in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting background. Thank you so much. Grace, do you want to go next?
Hey guys, good evening. Happy to be here. Okay. Actually, transitioned to UX from technical. I started with startup, then moved to consultancy, then now I'm working in SGX, so more on enterprise UX. We do have a team of a couple of designers handling mostly web apps and mobile apps, both internal and client facing, public facing. Day to day is more of because we do have a core product, which is our design system. Um, but we also handle different platforms like B2B, B2C, and just internal platforms. So mostly it's either working on requirements. Since I'm no longer an individual contributor, I actually check um going over like deliverables both for initiative and the actual platforms. Then we are still building on our design system. It's a living document, so we allot like a day a week for it, and UX framework. So yeah, that's basically the summary of day to day. Thank you.
Cool, awesome. I'm really glad to have everyone here because I think that everyone is coming from like very different backgrounds. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the work of a product designer. So we actually have a form that we sent out before the event to ask if our attendees have any questions for the panelists. And there are a couple of questions sent in by our audience. And someone asked whether it's possible to apply the full UX design process, meaning from like research, interviewing to usability tests, et cetera, as a solo designer in an SME, which begs the question of whether there is actually a fixed or an ideal product design process. So I think we've seen many double and triple diamond diagrams on the internet, but how has your experience really been? working as a product designer in your specific team so far, do you always follow a fixed process or does it vary? I think Grace, you can go first.
So far, there's no such thing as perfect or fixed process. Like in UX, right? The most common answer that you're gonna get is it depends. So every time you have to adjust. You have so many resources around you. Either you're working alone or you're working in a team in a startup or enterprise. It's the same thing. You have to be able to reassess and adjust depending on what is the goal, what is required for that delivery, or what exactly are you planning to deliver during that time. For us, we do have guidelines. You definitely have to go through research, but it's more of like an overview guideline. But the exact process and framework, it's always adaptable to whatever is required that we need to comply to. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. When you say that it's more like a guideline instead of kind of like a fixed process. Kim, what do you think about the ideal double or triple diamond diagrams of the design process?
So I completely agree with Grace. I think it really depends. Sometimes you might get like projects that like last a week. Some of them last like 3 months. So I think depending on the time that's given, also you try to adapt and try to see what's the best process while following some sort of guideline like Grace was sharing. Personally, how I try to do it is even if there is no research or the research gets cut out, which is not ideal, I try to do just some desktop research that would help. But that just helps me facilitate and validate like my design. Yeah.
Yeah. And your team is very interesting as well, because you mentioned earlier that you are working on more of like proof of concept. So it's kind of different from working on consumer product, right? So does that change the process that you guys have in your team?
Yeah, so I think there is definitely a business lens to it before like it kind of gets like sent to like the design team. So there have been like business conversations and maybe a few like research involvement at the start already, and then it goes more to design. So sometimes there is when you get the design, you actually get a few insights that you can work off already. So that's quite interesting. And then progressively you can continue researching throughout the different stages since it's so new. Yeah.
Awesome. Jaylene, what about you? I think your Carol is more, you mentioned that it's an automatic motive marketplace, right? Do you guys work with more sort of enterprise clients rather than, you know, consumer facing stuff? And does that how does that affect your design process?
So right now we are split into squads. So we have like a B2B squad and then a B2C squad. So then for the B2C squad, you'll mainly work on like the consumer products, meaning like the websites, different consumer applications. And then for the business side, you'll be working mostly for like the enterprise products and then the dealership side of the products. So currently I'm working for the B2B side. So previously I was working on the B2C side and then I transitioned towards the B2B side. And then for like the design processes and things like that, I totally agree with Grace and Kim. There's no such thing. It totally depends on the size and the complexity of the project and the scale. So if like, for instance, if it's a B2C product and it's really huge, then definitely we have to talk to some users to find out more about their pain points and how we can address their needs. But then for instance, if it is an enterprise product, then we will probably be talking to the stakeholder just for like a day or like even a few hours just to understand the problem. And then we will start working on it already.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think that previously when I was working with B2B product as well, like the issue always comes from like how do you actually get how do you actually talk to, you know, B2B clients, right? There's always that barrier of like reaching out to the right people, because like the people that you talk to might not even be the people that will be using your product. Menaka, what about you? What do you think about the ideal product design process?
I guess I kind of relate to what all of the other panelists have said today, because I've seen in the same company working here for 3 years, a very different setup of research and the process of working has evolved right from when I joined as a senior designer. We were a team of 5. So I was doing a lot more research hands-on myself early days, and trying to do like guerrilla testing and things like that, just so we can get some research into the window of like development and release. And from there, we have grown into now having established sort of consumer panel where we invite 5 people a month to come and kind of give us their thoughts on whatever pain points, or we use that time to even test new ideas and things like that. So it has been a big change internally, and I feel that has also improved how we collaborate and build things. Yeah, that's basically my experience, just only in PropertyGuru. But outside of this company, I think I have very different experiences working, especially in agencies where things are very fast moving, and sometimes you don't have a lot of insights, so you go off either what you hear from the suit, the people, the account managers who talk to the clients, or you do some kind of ad hoc testing with like getting opinions from other people on the artwork that you're creating or whatever. So yeah, I've gone from that into like a more structured, formal, proper process of using the research to derive some insights, and then taking that and applying it into my ideation inside the product, and then experimenting and things like that. So I guess there is an ideal way, but it really depends on your company's UX maturity as well, and how you push them to get there.
Awesome. Yeah. So I actually also want to address another topic within the scope of working as a product designer. So we've just talked about the process, right? Another thing that I think came up quite often during in our the set of questions that were sent in was collaboration. So I think collaboration is one of the most important things, in my opinion, as a product designer. And we have a lot of questions addressing like collaborating with like difficult stakeholders. So how do you actually manage like relationships at work, and especially with difficult stakeholders, be it the engineering team, business stakeholders, and maybe even like marketing, sales, or clients if you work in an agency, because everyone is coming from quite different backgrounds, right? And you also mentioned that like, and depending on the company and the maturity, you might have a different processes. So does that also apply to collaboration?
Sorry, is the question still for me or?
For anyone. You can go first
Okay.
as well if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I can share some like stories, I guess, from my own experience. From the agency world, I think I was more sheltered, wherein there was a project manager to kind of deal with clients face to face and get feedback. I would get involved as a junior designer in like presentation sometimes, where I guess I would go with the lead in order to present the ideas and kind of stand there and watch as he's talking through the ideas, and sometimes they would let me present. So that was the closest I got to meeting my stakeholder face to face. But when I joined a product company, I think it was completely different, because the people I need to convince are also the people who are building the product with me. So it's not like you can run away from those stakeholders. They're constantly there in every other meeting, and they are your colleagues. So you kind of you need to establish that there is a balance, like our personal relationship is on one side, and then the work relationship also needs to be maintained at the same time. So yeah, I've seen all kinds of dynamics where there's very loud people in the room, and then there are the quiet ones who just who have things to say, but they don't know how to say it in a meeting setting. So I try to be sensitive to how people are giving feedback, or allowing them different ways to give me feedback about my design, or if it's anything else, if it's a process thing, if things are getting confusing, then yeah, we have the practice of doing retrospectives, and that really helps because that's kind of the safe space for the team to voice out opinions and feedback, and then we take action items from there and go and try and improve how we collaborate together.
I really like that you mentioned like paying attention to the dynamic within your team. You know, there are people who are more comfortable sharing your ideas versus others. So Kim, what about you? Like from your team, like how do you actually manage relationships between you and other designers or between you and other stakeholders?
Yeah, so I think similar to Menaka, she was saying, like in an agency setting, you're pretty used to like account managers or like project managers talking to their clients, and then moving into more of an in-house role, you got to start talking to like stakeholders more yourself. I find that I guess just trying to understand their point of view and like kind of like switching like your mental model from like design to like their line of work will help you try to communicate it in their way. So you try to find the benefit from like their point of view, but also we try to like go for coffee with them or something, like just a bit of like bonding to kind of understand where they're coming from. And also I guess just general like understanding. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's also my style to kind of ask people out to coffee. I think like being able to establish a relationship with people that you're working with really does help us understand where they're coming from. And I also think that it's and I could be wrong about this, but I read about this and it says that it's a, you know, there are different styles of, you know, creating trust within your team, and in a collectivist culture like ours, like in Singapore or in Vietnam, where I'm from, you know, trust is established through relationship and not through like task-based or business-related activities, for example.
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I feel like also just one more point, like I guess it's also like having like some sort of like compromise or trade-off. Like if you're having a conversation and they say that like, you know, we can't do this at this point of time, it's also like kind of like choosing your battles and understanding their point of view and like stepping back if you need to. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and not put your ego out there. Awesome. Great. So what about you? I think you also have the experience of kind of transitioning from a consultancy environment to where you are now.
Actually, I think Kim hit whatever is the summary of what I experienced in dealing or communicating with stakeholders. So, especially for our team, it's not like we're just talking to users and business stakeholders. We're also the one communicating with the dev team until the QA team and the UAT team. So we're basically end to end. But Kim actually hit the thing where everyone has their own goal, everyone worries about something else. So as long as you address that one, I feel in from our experience, most of whatever we're trying to push were actually accepted. There are a couple of things though, depending on how big um the idea or how big the concept that you're trying to push in, it takes time. We usually have follow like a 4-step guideline, like bring it up to the table first, make them be used to it. I'm not gonna lie, I tried the coffee thing previously. It doesn't always work.
Doesn't work.
I tried coffee lunch, you know, it
Some
doesn't
people are
always
just not likable.
it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does more harm than good. Um but then Zoe also raised a very good point. The goal always is to establish trust. Um like whatever you do, even if they don't want to like get coffee with you, they get lunch with you, you know, just make sure that integrity and commitment is in your everyday delivery. Like when you say you're going to review it, then you review it. If you say you're going to consider it, then consider it, and tell them exactly why you don't like the idea, not just well, let's not do it, you know. um yeah, basically that's it. As of the moment, we're still learning a lot after years, because it's an everyday struggle. We're quite new in the enterprise field, and it's very hard to actually change or influence the mindset. So yeah.
Mm. Did anything like change like in terms of collaboration as you progress into more senior positions?
Uh, oh, is that for me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Initially when we went in, there were silos, like I mentioned previously. Like the design team, I don't know where to fit. Where do you put in the UX value? Is it more on the marketing side? Is it more on the business side? Is it more on the development side? So where exactly is the UX value, right? So they started, there's this like silos built, like, oh, those are the dev teams, those are the business team, those are the operations team. So you don't know exactly where UX fits. Um, so for a couple of years, we've been breaking down those silos by um, different things. Promoting both active and passive communication. Like we're we're basically being the bridge. Like,
Mm.
oh, okay, this is a win-win for everyone as long as we address so I feel like that's the challenge for us as well. We have to understand on a deeper level why exactly is dev doing this, why exactly is business pushing for this, why exactly is what exactly is marketing trying to aim for. So yeah, there has been the development came when we actually did a weekly meeting when all of them are just there, and then because we feel like it's going to take time for UX designers to understand every aspect, so it's better if they explain to everyone else themselves. They
Mm.
can express more. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually want to, so that's, I think that's really interesting in terms of like, focusing in terms of collaboration on communicating the values of UX, right? So I'm wondering, Jayling, you are currently a junior product designer, right? So I want to hear from you, like what the challenges that you face in terms of collaborating with others, and has it changed like since you started working until now?
Yeah, so I wanted to say that I wanted to adopt the process of buying them coffee, but then after Grace said that there were some complications and harm, so now I'm not very certain. Grace, could you maybe elaborate a bit about like what harm it brought?
No, because not everyone can actually communicate on their level. Like for example, there are stakeholders that when you ask them for coffee, they already have this set idea in their mind. And no matter what you tell them, even if you're like just chatting casually, it's like their set idea is like, oh, UX is just doing this, especially for higher ups, like C-level suites. Like why are you actually talking to me? Go to the channel, or like for example, I'm going to give you like project management team. So definitely they're more concerned. Their goal is actually to keep the timeline and to keep the budget. So if you're pushing for something that you feel like will be very impactful in terms of UX and or UI and in the product, then they would say as long as we're not moving this how do you say that one, this timeline, we're not adding more resource to it, I don't want to spend more, so instead of gaining like respect, it's like they're shutting the door in your face without even hearing you out. So yeah, that's more harm, I
That's
guess.
definitely
Yeah.
scary. Menaka, I saw that you unmuted. Do you have anything you want to
Yeah,
share?
no, when you were talking about coffee, it sparked a memory of me once using chocolate to diffuse the situation. There was a very heated argument between some engineering and some design folks, and then I just brought like chocolate to calm everyone down because the meeting was
You
before
throw the
lunch, to be
chocolate
fair.
at them.
No, I just kept it there, like silently walked behind the room, like back to like towards the wall, and I was like, maybe this experiment will work and people will calm down. It kind of worked sometimes. So
Give
I
them
used to
the
I use that as a joke now in case I hear them arguing. I'm like, shall I run and get some chocolate? So
give
that
them
works
give
too.
them give them the positive chemicals.
Yeah.
So I
Awesome.
guess I'll bring some snacks next time.
Yeah, that always works. That always works on me.
Yeah, I think
It's good and bad.
people get very passionate discussing product stuff, if especially if they really, really care about the
Yeah.
what they care about it. Then yeah, then the heated arguments are just part and parcel of product development, and that's something you just learn to accept. And I guess as a junior designer is very intimidating. I remember new people who joined that team, I had to like warn them that hey, the meetings, design critiques can sometimes get very animated if you're discussing a very core page where multiple teams are involved. So just give them a heads up.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you were mentioning about people getting passionate as well. I think sometimes we also kind of base a lot of our identity on our work. Like we attach a lot of our self-worth into our
Absolutely.
work, and that makes it really hard, especially like doing design crit, and then somebody says something and you're like, oh no, I'm a terrible person, I'm a terrible designer, and this really hurts. Cool. So I think we can take 1 or 2 questions now from the audience. Y'all can raise your hand if you have any question for our panelists. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and chat about chocolate before we jump onto the next theme. Anyone want to add something to the topic of working as a product designer? Okay, so let's talk about chocolate. Actually, I do have a question. Since everyone here is coming from slightly like we have a mixed levels of seniority today, right? So I think it would be great to get a sense of how you view and define your role and your levels of seniority. So how do you like define a junior, mid-level, and senior roles, and what skill sets are needed in the different levels in the context of your organization? Jillian, do you want to start first?
So when you say like how do you define your roles, do you mean like what do you do in your day-to-day?
As in like, so we have like a junior product designer or mid-level or senior product designer title, right? So what do you think are the skill sets that are needed in the different levels?
Right. I guess on my current level, it's really like about problem understanding, and then problem solving, and then basically knowing how to do like usability testing, user research, how to map those pain points of the users to solve it, and then learning how to use the design tools on the go. So for junior, it's really more like the base level. Yeah, so it's not like as intense as like a senior or like a mid-level designer.
So like say because you're currently a junior product designer, right? So what do you think are the skill sets that you like, other skill sets that you need to have apart from like technical skills in order to say progress into the next level?
So I feel that it is a lot of communication skills, articulation skills. So like how you advocate for user research, how you get the buy-in and sell-in from your stakeholders, how you understand how to like gracefully push back, how you understand the certain the certain questions that you need to craft to ask to actually understand in depth of what the situation is like, who you need to talk to, who you need to get buy-ins from, and how you can solve the problem. So yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think when I still remember myself progressing and realizing that I didn't like talking to people, and that was becoming a really huge problem for me. Kim, what about you? How do you like define like a junior, mid-level, senior roles in your team?
Okay, so if we go from like one spectrum, like from end to end, I feel like okay, like a junior designer definitely needs more guidance. So maybe they need more like assistance in like projects. And then they will try to like build like their technical skills, like their interviewing skills and their design skills, and I guess need a bit more like mentorship. And then I think a mid-weight should be able to like hold their own projects and like just run by themselves and have a set of like projects they have really done, from like you know, like app or like responsive web to like a more enterprise. So just a variety of projects that they have experience in and doing. And then I think progressively when you go into a more senior role, it's more like, I mean, this is my assumption, but I think it's more like negotiation and like stakeholder management. And I mean, all these skills, like you start from like junior role and then you try to build these like skill set and traits all the way to a senior role. I guess you just get like a lot better at it once you reach like a senior role. And then once you reach senior also, you should be able to like mentor people and like guide them. Yeah, so that's how I would see the differences between these three.
Yeah, I really like when you mentioned that you know, at every level we still need to have some of these different skills, but we just kind of you know, expand them in terms of scope, and there is sort of like a slightly shift towards more soft skills and more communication skills when you are in more senior roles. So
Yeah.
So for Menaka and Grace, since you're more senior, how does one go into the management position?
Grace, you want to go first?
No, you can go first.
Okay, I guess I can only speak for myself, but essentially I try to think ahead about what do I want to grow as a designer. I mean, where do I want to be, sorry, as a designer, and then what skills do I need to get there, right? So that's kind of how I've been charting the course of, I guess, my career. Because early, when I finished graphic design, like studying graphic design, it was all about practicing as a graphic designer and establishing myself in the craft of it. And then at some point, I got bored of just the repeated grind of doing print-based design, and I got really interested in digital stuff. And from there, it was about learning the skills required as a junior designer transitioning into web stuff. It was learn the basics and learn it well, so that then I can figure out what do I want next. So yeah, from there it was when I had to become a senior designer, it was about learning to be a self starter and stop asking my senior like the person I work with too many questions, and being able to handle things on my own and figuring out the best way to, you know, get something done. So from there it grew. Finally, when I decided I want to go after a lead role, it was about how can I prove that I am able to not just lead myself, but also lead others around me. So it could be taking ownership of certain things like design ops, or establishing things that weren't established within the team. So at a team level, try and establish that. And then next level would be within the squad that I work at. Like, how can I make sure handoff is super smooth? Things like that. So eventually, after leading that team level stuff within one squad, now it is, yeah, now I'm stepping into the next level, which is managing people and also leading across multiple squads. So that would be my next challenge, I guess, in terms of growth. And for me, it's really about, right now, it's all about understanding the different dynamics between teams, and yeah, trying to make sense of it, and seeing how I can contribute without causing more animosity within teams, if there is any animosity. If there isn't, then how can we make sure that things remain smooth and we get to a like alignment on design decisions faster and things like that.
I think that was really interesting, because I think Kim just now were mentioning about like a progression in terms of scope of the skills, right? And then now you're talking about sort of starting from yourself, focusing on yourself, and then after that, focusing on your own team members, and then focusing next on multiple teams at the same time. I saw in the chat that I think Alistair was asking whether like, how do you find that level shifts as you navigate between the type of organizations like agency and then startup or government? So Grace, I think you can perhaps answer this question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me
No,
rephrase it.
no. Actually, I just need to confirm that the question is about like what are the differences in UX roles from startup to government to enterprise. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Because for me, basically, I haven't been in an agency, but I started in a startup, then consultancy, then enterprise. So I guess I can only describe those. When I actually consciously decided to go into a startup because I wanted to see the end-to-end decision making. So I wanted to understand like, okay, how does business give you the requirement? What exactly are they trying to consider when they're prioritizing? Then how was it handed off to UX? um then from UX, since we were trained, or UX is more visible to me, so that one is no matter which, I guess, type of organization you're in, you can see that stuff. Then after UX, what happens? So that is the actual thing that made me start in a startup. So after I got all of those from a startup, I moved to consultancy because I wanted to see all the different industries that could possibly need UX, like what exactly is going to be your role when or what exactly do you need to consider when you're handling like an education app, like so different clients will have different um oh, I don't really want to say requirements again, but then yeah.
I hate that word.
I know, but then yeah, so they demand, their demands is different, but if going through consultancy, you can actually realize that, oh, the flows, there are really some basic fundamental flows like a payment system, no matter which industry you're in, payment system has these steps, education system has these steps, HR has these steps. So it's like, okay, let's understand deeper, and
Mm.
then you can relate more. And then in enterprise, so those skills actually helped me when I moved to enterprise. Especially I was a little more senior than the rest of my team during that time. So it was easier for me to understand the business. It was easier for me without even asking like the stakeholders, okay, what exactly is your concern? Because I've seen those, like I've experienced those, so it was easier for me to relate. So yeah, I guess, but then in enterprise, the downfall is that you only, since yeah, it's mostly siloed. Like if you need this, go there. So the major how do you say that one? Not downfall, maybe more of
Downside.
yeah. Okay. Downside of it. Like you can only see what they want you to see. So
Mm.
yeah.
I,
Uh
I just want to add one thing is as you transition between uh, kind of ways of working, it's also a mindset shift that you have to get
Mm.
used to. Like agency, the pace is fast, the ways of collaborating is very different because it's a bit top down where you're told to do something and then you try and make it work within the space that you get. Whereas in a like a product company, for example, it's different dynamics there where it depends on what type of company firstly and who runs the show. Is it sales led, is it product led,
Mm.
is it also very hierarchical in the company
Yeah.
that you work? That also plays a big role in how you change your mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like some of the skills are pretty interesting when you transfer across different types of organizations, right? Like say, for example, I think in agency, for example, you can get more exposure doing sales pitch for clients, which is something that you can kind of adapt into a product team to kind of get buy-ins from different teams.
True.
So I think, yeah, so I think it's good to be able to see like how you can adapt the skills from the different organizations into your team. Okay, so I think I will need to get to Joshua. Joshua, thank you so much for waiting for so long to ask the question. So I'll just unmute you now. And yeah, what's your question for the panel?
Hey, sorry, I have a question about portfolio. Is this the right time to bring it up?
Yeah, sure. We are going to transition into that topic anyway, so go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm an interaction designer, and from what I'm hearing, the product design role seems very similar to the interaction design role. And I'm just wondering, when I'm preparing my portfolio, because like I said, it's more about solving problems, right? It's more than just drawing screens. How would you capture that in the portfolio setting? Am I supposed to be writing articles about my method? Am I supposed to be showing the screens I've done and walking through the reasoning behind it? Or what's the best way to kind of showcase the skills needed for a product designer?
Who wants to go first?
Grace here. May I?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, just really quick. Because when I was starting, since I've been to different industries and the thing. So when I was transitioning, I actually adapt my portfolio, adapt my CV on whatever role I wish to apply to. So for example, what your question is that you're an interaction designer and you would want to apply in a position. What are we looking for from our end? Actually, depending on the team. So before we hire, we already have an idea of which talent do we want to increase when we hire someone else. Like do we want to pursue visual design right now, so we need someone specializing in visual design. For interaction designer, if the role is more of a UX interaction, then yes, you're correct. You have to show the process and the methods that you've used to arrive to that decision. So I guess it, again, with the answer, it depends on the actual role that you're trying to buy in or apply to.
Awesome. Kim, do you want to add anything in terms of, I think we can also reface the question to like what makes a good portfolio and interviewing package, and what would be kind of like a deal breaker portfolio to you?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I'm quite like excited about this question because I feel like I think at the start when I was doing my own personal portfolio, I did like more like case studies and it was like quite long. But then like looking in like retrospect, I realized that I guess one way to look at your portfolio is to make sure that you know that like different types of people and hirers are going to come to your website or your portfolio and they're going to look out for different things. So how do you cater to most of them in general? So maybe they'll go in for like a very quick look, or they'll go in to really read like each project, right? So I feel like in terms of like the homepage and everything it should cater enough for like a very brief overview for them to get all your like skill sets and expertise. But then if they really want to deep dive, they can go in and maybe say max like 5 minutes per project, and then you can cover all the things you would like in your next job, like whether you want to highlight your process or your visual design. Yeah, so I guess if you're more like a generalist, you should cover it all. And then if you're focusing more on a visual design, you can make it more like aesthetic. So I think that like being able to cater to any kind of person that goes into your portfolio is very important. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting to be able to kind of, you know, cover as much as possible. And even though like I feel like the product design job description is just getting bloated every single month that I look at it, but being able to kind of cater to a wide range of requirements, but also I think the important thing is also to focus on what you're strong at, or expressing what you want to do. Say for example, if you want to focus on UX, and maybe that's something that you can highlight and express through your portfolio to the hiring manager, because you want to get into the position that suits you and your interest, right? Jerling, you are pretty young here. What about you? I feel like this is going to be something that's like super fresh in your mind. Building a portfolio, what makes a good portfolio, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so looking back, I think my portfolio is shit. Not sure why I got hired.
I feel like everybody feels like that after you you create your portfolio.
Yeah, I was
I,
cringing.
I refresh my portfolio every year and I still hate it.
Yeah, but this is a good question. Today I was just like watching this YouTube channel. I'm gonna share with you the link in a bit. And then this guy was just like reviewing like junior UX portfolios. And so he gave a lot of good tips about how from like how you understand the problem to how you actually talk to the real users, and then how you come up with your first iteration to your final iteration, and then how you provide like improvements on how you can actually like value add to this design, what you realize you did wrong, what enhancement you would like to do in the future. Like I think any company will really appreciate that, because right now a lot of companies are gradually moving towards a UX driven approach. So if they can see that you have like critical thinking and like a thoughtful process, then definitely they will be like, you know, more interested to engage with you and try to understand you a bit more. So I think you can look out for like Behance websites. Like a lot of people like to put their portfolios out there, and then you can check out a lot of YouTube channels as well.
Oh, awesome. Menaka, what about you? I think this is something that we mentioned during one of the dry runs as well. Like, how do you actually like in your role right now as a design leader as well? How do you actually put like I design lead in your portfolio?
Yeah, I think the more senior you get, you stop actually maintaining a proper portfolio. Your product or where you work should speak for you in a way. Like for me, I feel like some of the things I've done, I just link it straight to the page on my LinkedIn, and I've stopped kind of bothering to maintain a portfolio unless maybe, yeah, I really feel like I'm unhappy and I want to go somewhere else. But that might be just me. I don't know how others do their portfolio stuff. I feel like if I want to convince someone to hire me, it should show in my work, like that I've been doing already, or it should be something that I start building towards. Like if I want to become, I don't know, the head of design somewhere, then I need to demonstrate that in my experience. So I'll start planning backwards from the role I want, rather than saying I will take what I have and put it into a portfolio in that sense, right? So that's kind of the strategy I've been adopting for my own portfolio. Having said that, I do have different versions of my portfolio as well across different places. Like for example, I would have a PDF portfolio, I would have like a keynote presentation, and I have just like a list of list on Word, which is linked to different files. So I kind of use a mix of it depending on the kind of recruiter I'm talking to, or to like HR, or is it the hiring manager? Depending on the level of information they need, I cater my portfolio to that as well. And right now, if I were to redesign anything in my portfolio, I would want to definitely focus on storytelling rather than saying I have this skill, I have that skill as a senior designer. But if I was a more junior designer, yes, it's about showing mastery of your craft so that you build enough trust when you're showing a portfolio that the person who's hiring you thinks that yes, you're capable and you should be able to handle the job I'm hiring you for. Whereas as a senior, you're trying to prove that you can manage things and you can lead yourself. Lead without a lot of hand holding. So yeah, different levels, different types of portfolios.
Awesome, Joshua. I hope that helps you with your question. I think there is, oh, Kim, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add from what Menaka was saying. Yeah, I like absolutely agree, and I wanted to add that I guess it also depends on like the phase of like your job process. So like I think if you're like starting out in like and you're starting out, you're doing a portfolio, right? I think your portfolio needs to cater for like people who are viewing it like on a normal website, and when you go into the interview and you're presenting it, for example. So the portfolio just has to cater to that, the context of it. And yeah, just want to add that. Yeah. And I guess it's like UXing the job hiring like process from the hirer's point of view. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just talking about this is giving me like anxiety because I'm currently on a sabbatical and I have to think about finding a job very soon. And I was like, oh no, a portfolio. But that's good to know. I think a lot of people in the chat are also excited about the prospect of not having portfolio anymore. But I think the point here is that, you know, you shift your focus in what you want to sort of showcase to people. Previously it might be the craft, but then later on when you're in more senior position, it might be like storytelling and stuff like that. Menaka, you want?
Yeah, I wanted to say that portfolio is just a tool to get your foot in the door to talk about yourself in a way, right? So whatever you put there should convey a sense of who you are and what you stand for. If your portfolio can't do that, then it would be harder to connect with whomever you're targeting. If you're building a product, it's the same mindset you should have towards your portfolio. How do you curate what you want to say about yourself in a way that convinces people that you're the right person for that job?
Yeah, I think one thing that I do like about portfolio, or at least the process of doing that, is sort of making the time to reflect on the work that I've done, because this is something that I do really poorly. I just like, you just work on projects after projects and you never really think about, you know, sitting back and reflecting on the things that you've done, right? So I think portfolio, or even just creating a website for yourself, and writing down the things that you've done before would help, you know, reflecting on the work that we do. So I think we're coming to the end, unfortunately, of the event. So for the ending question, I think this is a question sent in either by Kim or Jayling, I think. I know, it's so sad. Are you, so the question is, are you where you envision yourself to be when you were younger? And where do you want to go or grow into next? Jayling, do you want to start?
Oh yeah, so this is my question. So am I asking myself this question? Yeah, I
you ask it, you answer it.
Yeah, okay. I guess I'm where I want to be right now, because like ever since young, I really enjoyed like graphic design, art, and things like that. And then slowly I learned about like there's this whole awesome new job scope out there called like product designer, and it really fits into what I want to do. And so like so I'm a communications and new media student. So we mainly do more of like writing reports, research papers and things like that. So not so much of design. But then when I realized that there is this like job scope out there, I was like, you know, like my degree don't matter anymore. I'm just gonna jump into this. Yeah, so I am where I am right now, and kind of wanna, you know, grow into like a mid-level and then a senior level designer. Yeah.
You're enjoying it so far, working as a product designer?
Sure. There are like challenges every week, but then it's when you solve those challenges, then you grow. So I kind of really like where I am right now because you know, like in a startup, it's really fast paced. So every week you have to churn out different things. So then you get to see like the different complexities of the different touch points in the company. And so I can grow in a very like exponential manner as compared to like if I were in a very huge corporations and then there's a lot of red tapes and then I cannot really get anything moving. So I think like for like a junior, this is like a good starting point.
Yeah, I really need to hang out with you more just so that I can get like that like energy from you, because I feel like so old and like tired. And that, yeah, that's a really great attitude. Cool, awesome. What about you, Kim? Where you envision yourself to be?
Okay, so I studied communications. So I did a social media and an agency at first. And then I guess someone was like, hey, you look like you're very interested in apps. Maybe you should go be a UX designer. So I was like, okay, sure. And then I realized that it was very in line with a lot of my interests. So I am happy with where I am and all the things I wanted to explore, because I was like curious about like, oh, you know, how we can use like technology in the future to help like design and all. But I think like progressively for the future, I kind of just want to just focus on design itself. Like it doesn't have to be like UX design or like digital design, just like even like industrial design or just, you know, design in everyday things. I feel like that's where my interest is heading towards. Yeah, just keeping it a bit broader, I guess. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm also thinking about, which is kind of, you know, being more interdisciplinary. Because design is like there's so many types of design, right? And there's always something like there is a common thread between these different disciplines as well, and it's an infinite source for us to learn from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's just like applying like design thinking skills like to everything that you can do, like, and then I think it'll be just like quite interesting to do that, yeah, instead of locking it in just the digital design or like UX design. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially a lot of those things that we design is not just products, right? It's also services as well. So having these skills definitely help.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Menaka?
It's a tough question.
I know
man.
that last.
This is me being like, where do I begin? No, I think I feel like right now I'm in the right place to learn and grow. But if you're asking me if this is what I envisioned, no way. I don't think I knew what I wanted when I was younger. And I feel like constantly I change my mind about what I want to do next. So that makes it even harder for me to decide what I want to do next. But yeah, I try to make peace with where I am. If I'm happy where I am, then I can function and grow. But the minute I start feeling frustrated with what if I'm not learning or something like that, that's when I'll probably figure out what I want to do next. Yeah.
I really relate to you in terms of like, you know, changing my mind quite often, and, you know, not having sort of kind of like I actually don't have like a personal goal or anything. I'm just like, do I feel happy in this place that I am? And if I'm not happy, then I pay attention to how I feel and then just figure it out from there. Awesome. Grace, you wanna tell us where you envision yourself to be, and where do you want to go next?
Envisioning myself to be like since young, definitely a no. I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I graduated in engineer and now I'm a UX designer. So yeah, it's like different, completely different. But maybe envisioning myself because it's always realigning. Whatever skill I got previously, I actually was able to use it. Um, so and I'm quite happy right now. I'm quite happy with UX. Honestly, when people from my childhood actually ask me, I thought you want to be a lawyer, I tell them, what, UX is evidence based design. We are lawyers, it's just digital way.
That's a
So
really interesting take on it.
well,
And
we
true as
always,
well.
well, you defend your design. Yeah, you
That's true. I
find
was thinking that is like that's the kind of skill that you need for the collaboration.
so yeah, I'm actually yeah, enjoying it. It's making, I guess it's just making the best out of what you currently have, and just yeah, taking things from there.
Cool, awesome. Did we lose Menaka? No. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, while we wait for Menaka to maybe come back and say bye, we're coming to the end of the discussion today, and I've learned so much from everyone, and it's been really awesome listening to your stories about working as a product designer. We do have like a little bit of stuff before we go. As per our tradition, we have some positions available for you. So let me share my screen really quickly, and I'll try to like speed this up and not like go all over the place. I hope that can you see my like Figma stuff? I hope I didn't share like something weird. Okay, cool, awesome. So in the networking file, if you go to the job post page, you'll see that there are a couple of like job openings. So Carol, Drayling's team is hiring a lead product designer and a senior product designer based in Singapore. Her email is here. You can contact her. And PropertyGuru, which is where Menaka is working at, is also hiring a UI designer. And we have Kitchen Lab and Automatic, who are companies, Rose's company and Jill's company. They are probably either in the audience. I know that Jill is not here today because she has a dinner right now. But they're also hiring a product designer for the Singapore team for Kitchen Lab, and a couple of senior product designer and brand and creative designer role for Automatic. So their contact numbers in there. For Jill, you can find her in the Friends of Figma Slack if you have any questions. And there are also kind of links to her job post here. And if you can't find her, just Google Jill Pipe, you'll find her email. It's very easy. I did that. I stalked her a couple of times. It's very easy for you to find out. Cool, awesome. So that is the job post. And we have the last bit, which is our feedback form. So we hope for this to be a community platform. So we definitely want to hear from everyone. Please let us know if there are any other themes you would like to listen to and discuss with us about, whether you like this format of, us not wanting to show our faces because it's 8 p.m. in the evening and I can't be bothered to change. Please let us know how you feel about it. If you would like to be one of our panelists, please let us know. I think Tian has sent out a feedback form in the chat, so use that and let us know how you feel. And that's about it. Thank you so much, Jayling and Kim and Grace. And Menaka is back.
I'm back.
Ooh.
I'm so sorry.
I was like, where did she go?
Right now. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, did we use the cheap version of Zoom and then everyone will get kicked out now? But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you, and I really loved your insights. We will keep the networking file open, and you can connect with everyone in there. And just reach out to people. Everyone has shared their profile there. Don't be shy. Our panelists are also in there. So thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank
Menaka.
you.
Thanks, Jayling.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for having me. Thanks.